For the last couple of years, we've all been hearing a very specific story about how AI is going to change, well, everything, especially our jobs. But what if that story kind of got it wrong? Today, let's pull back the curtain on the surprising reality of AI adoption. It's a story that's way less about corporate roadmaps and a lot more about what's actually happening on our own phones and laptops.
So it really all kicked off right here. In early 2025, the World Economic Forum drops its Future of Jobs report. And look, this wasn't just another white paper. This became the official playbook. We're talking governments, Fortune 500s. They all treated this thing as gospel for how to get ready for the AI revolution. But here's the big question. What if that official map, the one everybody was so carefully following, was actually pointing in a completely different direction from where the real action was happening? That's exactly what we're going to dig into. All right, so first, let's just quickly recap. What was this official prophecy that everyone was working from?
The WEF painted this picture of massive but, ultimately positive change. They said, sure, AI will displace about 92 million jobs, but it's going to create 170 million new ones. So a net gain of 78 million jobs. The core idea was pretty simple. This new general-purpose AI was going to reshape everything through automation.
Well, it didn't take long at all for some really interesting cracks to start showing up in that forecast. And what they revealed was a much, much more complex reality.
And here's the first huge surprise, something nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming. AI didn't just become one single thing. Almost right out of the gate, it fractured and started heading down two totally different paths.
And you can see that split so clearly. On one side, you've got ChatGPT, which just exploded as a consumer lifestyle tool. It's like a personal advisor for pretty much anything. And on the other side, you have platforms like Claude, which carved out this super specialized niche as a heavy-duty tool for businesses, mostly for things like coding and deep technical analysis.
The data behind this consumer shift is just wild. A whopping 73% of ChatGPT use has nothing to do with work. We're talking personal stuff, education, even just getting life advice. It became way less of a work tool and way more of a life assistant.
And this points to another huge blind spot in the original predictions. It turns out, people value AI way more for guidance and advice than they do for just getting a task done. We prefer asking the AI for help over telling it what to do. It's just a more satisfying interaction.
Okay, so all of this is building up to the biggest reveal of them all, where the AI revolution is actually taking place.
If you look at the official numbers, they're a little underwhelming, to be honest. Only about 40% of companies have actually bought official AI subscriptions for their employees. I mean, with all the hype, you'd expect that to be higher, right?
But hold on, because this is where the story completely flips. Get this, in a staggering 90% of companies, employees are using their personal AI accounts to do their jobs. The real revolution isn't coming through the front door at all.
And this has a name, the shadow AI economy. It's this massive, under-the-radar world where people are using their own ChatGPT accounts to write work emails, analyze spreadsheets, and solve problems, all without the IT department having a clue. This shadow world, that's the real engine of AI in the workplace today. So, if the tools are different and how we use them is different, what about the users themselves? Yep, the data here is just as shocking.
Check this out. This has to be one of the fastest demographic flips in tech history. When ChatGPT launched, its users were 80% male. Just 2.5 years later, it's over 52% female. And that whole shift was driven by young users, aged 18 to 25.
The geography is also a total curveball. You'd think the US would be leading the pack since it leads in investment, but it's way behind in actual adoption, sitting at just 25%. So who's at the front? China and India, both pushing 60%. It just goes to show you that cultural acceptance might be way more important than just R&D budgets.
So, why? Why is all of this happening? Why the shadow economy? Why are people using their personal tools? Well, it all boils down to one fundamental concept that the original forecasts just completely missed.
It's something called the learning gap. Think about it. The consumer tools we use every day, like ChatGPT, they learn. They remember context. They get better the more you use them. But most of the expensive official AI systems that companies buy, they're static. They don't remember past conversations. And since we all know what good AI feels like from our personal apps, we have zero patience for clunky, forgetful tools at work.
And if this whole thing feels a little familiar, it should. AI is basically just following the internet's playbook, step by step. The internet started as a business tool. Then Google came along and sparked a consumer revolution. Then you got specialization with eBay and Amazon. And now we're seeing AI do the exact same thing, pivoting from a niche work tool to an essential part of our daily lives.
And of course, this is all playing out differently depending on the industry. You see huge disruption in tech and media, where workflows are changing completely. You see a more moderate impact in finance, mostly in the back office. And then you've got sectors like healthcare and energy, where adoption is, well, they're barely even in the pilot phase.
So, what's the big takeaway for businesses here? Well, first, you've got to acknowledge that shadow AI economy exists and actually learn from it. You should focus on how AI can be an advisor, not just an automator, and understand that success isn't always about the flashiest project. Sometimes, the real wins come from good data quality and quiet back-office improvements.
So the big picture is this. The AI transformation is absolutely real. It is here. It's just not a top-down revolution that's being dictated from the boardroom. It's a bottom-up revolution, and it's being led by all of us on our personal devices.
And that leaves us with one final, really provocative question. For businesses, the choice isn't if they'll adopt AI anymore. The real choice is whether they can provide official tools that are as smart, as adaptive, and as genuinely useful as the ones their employees are already secretly using. So the question is, how are they going to bridge that gap?